somebody wanted to clap, go ahead. I didn't put the video together. You're not clapping for me. But if I don't know you, I'm Jamie. Otherwise, I think known as Guinea Pig 1 in this process. 3 of us went on a journey. But judging by the age of the audience, you know, I'm almost 50 years old, 49 years old. Maybe you are at a similar place in life. I was just thinking about one thing because I left my glasses in the car. I'm like, my whole life I had 20/15 vision. Like, never had an ounce of eyesight issue. And as I'm approaching 50 and the eyes are going away and I have to wear glasses, that was one of the impacts where I'm like, man, it tires your brain when you're not used to looking through glasses, or if you don't have your glasses, like right now my eyes are straining. And so your brain starts to feel different because of physiological changes as we get older. So I didn't know if it was, potential Alzheimer's that you heard me say in the video. I've done DNA sequencing that gives you a range of propensity to where I could have dementia-related things that could occur. Is it the eyesight changing? Is it the busy lives we run with our kids, our work, everything? It all starts to converge at the same time, and you just don't know. Like, we get blood work done, we do physicals, we do all these other things to be able to measure physically in our life. But very few of us ever have an ability to engage and measure our brains. And so this just kind of happened by chance. At C3, most of you know, we try to think outside the box of how we can bring different solutions to clients. And Dr. Willemeyer came onto our podcast. And she's talking, and I don't know if any of the things she was saying on there sounded like a foreign language to you, and most of it still kind of does to me, but the charts and the words are starting to slow down, and I'm recognizing more and more over time. But on that first podcast, it was really, really foreign. And all I really understood was, hey, your brain changes over time. You really need to get a baseline for it. Sort of like getting blood work, understanding what's your baseline of health, because your baseline is different than someone else's baseline. But if you've never done that, as you get older and changes happen, you don't know if those are natural or it's a cause of something. So going through a process to have that is a really great experience to do. So we dreamt up this thing and we were like, let's be guinea pigs and go experience what her neurofeedback process is like, and then let's just put it on display. So I remember like when Al Roker got cancer and he kind of just did a play-by-play on the Today Show. We were like, we don't know how this is gonna go, but let's just commit to it and do it. That way we can't back out. So that's what we did. We committed to the process even before we knew the results, which we just got insight to last week. Mostly it's good. One guy's not here, so hopefully he's okay. But for the other 2 of us, we're here, and it was an amazing experience that we're going to share. So what we're going to do is Dr. Willemeyer is going to get up, give a little bit of background about her, and just set a very high-level baseline for us. And then before we get into the technical results side of it, we're going to have a panel discussion where we share what each phase of the journey was like, what we knew coming in, what the experience was like, how it unpacked for us, what our takeaways were, so you have some perspective. And then she's going to come back up and she's going to walk through. You're going to get to take a tour of Gabe's brain, what Gabe's brain was like prior to it and what it is like now on the back side of it. So it's pretty cool. And if you engage with her at some point, you'll get the same sort of report. You'll get a technical, objective measurement of the performance of your brain in areas that you could impact moving forward. So I didn't memorize your entire background, but Dr. Willemeyer, AKA, you'll hear me reference her sometimes as Kristen as well. We're in a group together called Alders where we first met her. She worked at the Amen clinics prior to moving out on her own. They're somebody that people know. She led the research for the NFL concussion studies and other amazing work in her time as a neuroscientist. She does a pretty good job. I've met a few of them now. It's a pretty technical space, and I'm kind of a street language guy. Most of the time she does a pretty good job bringing it down, but every once in a while it's just way over my head. So you'll have an opportunity to ask questions during this little journey, and then she's going to hang around after. If you don't want to ask a question or you want a private conversation, you'll either be able to engage with her today, or we'll obviously connect you as well if time doesn't permit. And so without further ado, I'm gonna quit gabbing and we'll get the star of the show up here, Dr. Kristen Willemeyer.
Yes, thank you. So first of all, thank you everyone for coming. This is an amazing crowd of people coming in the middle of the day. And I also really wanted to say thank you to Bree, to Gabe, to Jaylee, to Matt, to Mia. This has been an extraordinary experience working with them. So you've been working together for 5 months. And when they first came and reached out to me, they literally like, we want to take a look at our brain. And we want to know, is there something we could do to make it better? And I put together a PowerPoint presentation for you, just to give you a little bit of background on myself so you can understand why I do this and why this is important. I mean, this is a passion of mine, taking care of brain health. I have a father who passed away with Parkinson's disease, and that happened to be what I studied in graduate school. So this is just something I love to do. I'm one of those nerdy scientists that like to look at people's brains and then teach them what to do to make it better. So let's just start here with a little background on myself. So again, you're here for High Performing Minds. So most of you here are probably CBOs or run companies, and one of the best things about the kind of work that I do, it really is brain optimization. So I could take your brain wherever it is at currently and literally take it to the next level. And I created this PowerPoint, and again, it will get a little technical a little later for those people who actually want to understand what is it that we do when we look at the brain. This is my sort of personal philosophy. I'm the CEO and founder of a foundation called the Willemeyer Center for Advanced Research in Neurotrauma and Brain Rehabilitation, which I literally just named after my father. Because I want to help people who struggle with degenerative diseases, trauma, psychiatric issues. It is very possible to change the brain. And I've been using neuroimaging now for 16 years, and neuroimaging really is the future of this field. And pretty much most people know that. Many people, if you're going to a psychiatrist or psychologist, they never really look at the organ that they're treating. And I've just been in a really fortunate position to be able to do that. Brief background on me. I did my undergrad at Boston College in psychology a very long time ago, 25 years ago. Master's degree at UCLA in physiological sciences. I worked in the laboratory of neuroendocrinology. So I'm a traditional bench scientist. I did a PhD in neurobiology at UCLA as well, and that's where I studied Parkinson's disease. I also worked out of the Department of Neurology at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, working in Parkinson's disease, and did a postdoc there as well. So the first 10 years of my career, complete bench scientist, just trying to understand why neurons die in Parkinson's. When I left in 2008, I happened to meet Dr. Daniel Amen. So does anyone know the Amen Clinics? Just show of hands if they're even familiar. A few people do. So Amen Clinics is a large, nationally recognized outpatient psychiatric center, and they're known for doing brain imaging. And the people that come to the clinics typically have failed 3 to 5 treatment providers. And they're coming to the clinics to get brain imaging to understand how to target and treat psychiatric disorders. And that's where the education, just my background and understanding how the brain functions and how it's wired was really, it just went to the next level. Amen Clinics, they have 11 locations now throughout the United States. So on average, 4,000 people were coming into the clinical setting per month. And I ran their neuroimaging research department. So I was involved in a lot of high-level research studies. You know, some of the biggest things we did were working with the professional football players, like Jamie was saying. Back in 2009, we asked the question, does playing football cause long-term brain damage? Not only was the answer yes, but then we showed we could restore and rehabilitate brain function. And that's when I fell in love with the whole concept of brain optimization. And the Amen Clinics, this is what they do. So a lot of what we talk about today is informed by my work at the clinics. Again, so this is just some of my career highlights. I've published over 80 publications. I've been an NIH fellow. I do peer review, and I sit on the editorial board of several peer review publications. So I'm doing a lot in the research side of things, but I love working with people. You know, I had to leave the laboratory setting and really sort of utilize this technology. And I started doing quantitative EEG, which is what we're doing here today, back in 2009 with the NFL study. And I was trained by some of the most innovative leaders in the field, one being Dr. Robert Thatcher, who has taken this technology, the neurofeedback that I've talked to you about today. Really? I'm back to, okay, I got to speed it up. He took the technology that we're using today and really advanced it. And I'll tell you more about neurofeedback as we get into this conversation. So what I do is really innovative solutions for brain rehab with advanced diagnostics, the real-time neurofeedback, which we'll talk about. And really here we use it for peak performance optimization. I do clinical research and a lot of education, advocacy, and brain health. I'll skip through this service. These are the kind of conditions we can address, really anything with brain imaging. The gentleman here, they're going to be talking about today, really wanted to do brain optimization, but across the spectrum, I've worked with everybody about all of these conditions. When you come and work with me, and Jamie and Gabe will tell you about their process, I do a thorough brain health evaluation, cognitive assessment, a brain health assessment, and I do a mental health assessment based on what we did at Amen Clinics. So you will be going through that. And then I do something called QEEG and SW Loretta neurofeedback. So long story short, QEEG or EEG is the measurement of the electrical activity of the brain. That's what these traces are. The quantitative means I can take your EEG and I compare you to a normative database of healthy individuals. And I'm actually just looking to see how does your brain function compare to somebody who is healthy, right, in your age and gender. So that's the quantitative piece. So I can then do the 3D mapping where you can get these really like beautiful images of the brain. So I can see when I'm going through your results, are there deeper areas of the brain that are causing the dysfunction? And then I can compare you to a peak performance database, which is really cool. So this database is of individuals who have an IQ of over 120, and they generals in the Army, right? These are really high level people, and I know these guys here were very excited to see their results against the peak performance database. And then I love this work because it's really non-invasive technology, right? I can put the QEEG cap on your head. It doesn't require use of radiation, so you can do it in real time anywhere. That I can monitor your brain waves and tell you exactly, we can correlate whatever issues or symptoms you're having with what the brain imaging is showing. This is what neurofeedback looks like. So this is a 25-year-old. This particular cap is one of the dry caps, so it's actually a more advanced cap than it was using with these gentlemen. 25-year-olds with post-concussion syndrome, I hook you off, you were watching something on a television monitor. It's actually a very comforting process, and you'll find out from the guys their experience with it. But again, this neurofeedback, we are looking at your entire brain, and we are training your entire brain for 30 minutes. So in 30-minute segment, I can train anywhere from 400 to 1,000 metrics. That's why you can get really good results quite quickly. And this particular slide is where we're stopping, Mia. This is our C-suite executive, Gabe, and we're gonna tell you about his process. So I will stop here, and I think we're gonna do our panel now.
I think Mia's only 4 foot tall, but she's scared of her with her 5-minute call. She's trying to keep us on time so that everybody who's got things after this can get all the content and be able to get out. And she loves neuroscience. If we didn't put a timer on her, she could talk for 10 hours, and she is amped about it, which I love about her. Okay, so I'm gonna invite Marife Molina up next. Gabe, come on up. Us three are gonna come over here. Marife Molina is our EVP of Revenue. She's also like the most curious person I've ever known, which is why we're asking her to lean in and moderate. She's gonna facilitate questions. But this part of it, feel free to dive in with us if you have questions. Let's interact through it, and then once we explain our journey, then she'll get back up and walk you through the technical slides of the changes in Gabe's brain, so you could see what potentially could happen with you if you went through a similar journey. So, Marife.
Awesome, thanks guys. I was just thinking about this, like, have you ever in your career been like, man, I wonder what my boss is thinking, like what's in their brain? And it's so wild, like never in a million years did I think I'd actually get a chance to see what is in my boss's brain. So that is thank you for being our guinea pigs. I get to moderate because for those of us that have been here at C3 over the last couple of months watching this journey, these guys have been aging backward. It's wild to see. We're like, what are they doing? So I've had so many questions, and I'm sure all of you do too. So I'm excited to moderate this panel. Over the last couple months, you guys have been a part of something that most of us in this room have never had a chance to be a part of, which is real-time neuroscience applied to leadership and peak performance and daily performance. We caught a video. It was kind of gave us a glimpse into what that journey is, but I want to do a deeper dive into what that journey was like for you all, the surprises, the challenges, and how it actually impacted both your personal and professional lives. So we'll start at the beginning. Jamie, I know you mentioned you didn't know a ton about the process, but what did you know about brain health before you embarked on this journey?
I really didn't know much. The only thing I had done was a DNA sequencing I did it through a company called DNA Complete. I don't know if anybody from Genomic Life, did they make it in here? Genomic Life is here, which is a much better DNA sequencing platform that companies can offer to employees to go on a similar type journey. But I did it because of that medical history in the family. So the only thing I really knew about my brain was I had somebody in my family who had died of complications related to dementia. And I had done sequencing, and I had several markers that were propensity to. And I really I didn't have, like Genomic Life will give you medical counselors and help you digest it. I didn't have that. So I just sat on this information for a few years, and then when I came up with this idea, I reached out to her and I'm like, hey, there's 45 reports in my brain in here and I can't read any of this stuff. I have no idea what it means. And so she had me download, I think 12 or 13 of those reports and send over to her. So as we went through the medical screening that Bob has in his hands right there, she also had me send the reports over to her so she could kind of consider all of those things. That when she then got to the place of the cognitive test and the neuromapping, she has this comprehensive view. But that's all I came into it with.
Okay, when did your curiosity about what this could be, like when did that moment happen when you took the action and like, we're just gonna do it, we're gonna go on this journey?
Well, usually that happens when Jamie just tells me to go. But no, the curiosity really came when we had Dr. Willemeyer on our podcast. And I was just kind of blown away by what's happening in this space, how far technology's come. It's just something I had never really thought about. I mentioned in the video, like I'm always thought about my physical health and, you know, I gotta go to the gym and make run and eat well and all those things to, you know, stay healthy for a long time. And be around for my kids and the grandkids, but I never really thought about, you know, how do I really keep my brain healthy until the podcast. And then this whole thing kind of came around, probably 6 or 8 months after that. Mm-hmm. So.
Dr. Willemeyer, when you first saw their brain scans and you were kind of talking to them about their lifestyle, was there anything that you're like, oh my gosh, like I think I can really work with these guys and help improve certain goals?
She said they're bad. That's
Okay, what I love about these three, there's three completely different brains. They came to me so they're all high-level executives, right? Running this company. Is that how many employees?
135.
Yeah, 135 employees, three very busy working professionals. And their whole goal with me was brain optimization. That's sort of this term. I'm like, okay, well, let's actually take a deeper dive. What is going on in your family? What's your psychiatric history? what's the neurological history, are you healthy? And then you take a look at the brain and the cognitive assessments, and I'm like, oh, there's some things we can work on. So each of their brains were at different places, and so I mean, it just depends on how much you guys want to speak about where you were at. I mean, Jamie, to begin with, had a beautiful brain. Absolutely. It was absolutely beautiful, and most people might not do anything with it. If they saw that EEG. Yeah, but you're the focus.
That's
here.
why I'm the focus.
You're the focus.
Most improved.
You're the focus. So we really took Jamie's brain to the next level. I am always surprised at what we can accomplish using this technology. It truly blows my mind, because every person is unique, every brain is unique. Rather than not working in psychiatry, like no two brains are the same. And Gabe's brain, and we're gonna go through his, so he came, it still looked beautiful, but there were things that we could do to optimize it. And it stayed with maths, and so I had to take into consideration their backgrounds and things they wanted to work on. Because I might ask you some questions, like I'm seeing your brain, I might ask you some questions about your life to kind of pinpoint why this might be happening. Because this is part, sometimes you do neurofeedback, it's looking at the brain, but then there's also a whole sort of like coaching and understanding what you really need. And so, yeah, they were all three different. Same goal, peak performance. And I will say all three of them are highly competitive. I come in here and only imagine, is did I score better than him? So it's very sweet.
I wish I won in the end, obviously.
I know part of the process was pretty big lifestyle changes, cutting out alcohol, exercising, focusing on sleep. Tell me more about like what the journey after, and the neurofeedback sessions, of course, so we saw the links of the cap. Talk us through what the journey was like. Was it what you expected it to be?
Well, I think one of the things that from our early session where Dr. Rollmeyer is like, hey, how serious are you about improving your brain? You know, and that was our question. And we're like, well, we're all in. And so by getting all in, you know, she talked to us about some of the major things that besides, you know, doing the neurofeedback that can really have a huge effect on our brain health. And it's the things that you would think of, you know, but people don't really connect those to your brain health, which is, well, optimal weight is a huge one. You could talk about how extra weight really has a negative effect on your brain. Things like sleep, you know, other things like alcohol has a big negative effect on your brain. And then things that can improve your brain is certain supplements. So we kind of basically, she gave us our prescription of what would help our brain the most during this process. And I think that, you know, the results show it, but we really feel a lot different than when we started.
What was the hardest part?
I mean, in the beginning was the no alcohol, I think.
We're in the insurance industry, by the way.
Let's
guys.
be honest.
We drink a lot in our industry. So.
But I was surprised that after I cut it out, how empowering it was and how good I felt. So I think that was the very beginning part, but then, you know, once you stuck with that became pretty easy.
Yeah, what's funny is so right now I'm probably about the same weight as maybe 8th grade. So, but I had kind of slowly, I lost weight in college and then kind of gained it back up to 230. And over the course of about 2 years, I went from 230 down to 215. And that was like really hard. And so I was feeling great at 215. And then she's like, yeah, you're 20 pounds overweight. I'm like, shit. Like this is going to be really hard, you know? So that's where she talked about the impact, you know, of alcohol on the brain. And she connected it for me for sleep. I wear an Oura ring. She's like, how many hours a night are you averaging sleep? And I was around 5, like somewhere between 4:45 and 5:15. And she's like, well, are you tired? I'm like, yeah, I'm tired all the time. But I wake up sometime between 3 and 4:30 every day. And Gabe actually introduced me to this 3-day sleep lady when one of my kids wouldn't sleep. And she was like, look, your kid's clock, it's 4:30. So if you're putting him to bed at 8 o'clock, just know he's not getting enough sleep. He's gonna be a miserable kid his whole life. If you want him to go to bed at his age, he needs 12 hours, put him to bed at 4:30. I was like, there's no way we're gonna put him to bed at 4:30 and he'll sleep till 4:30. And he did. So when she told me this, I'm like, okay, to get 7 hours of sleep, if I apply the same logic as I did my little infant, I gotta be asleep by like 9 o'clock. Which meant I'm coming home from my kids' water polo. I haven't been home all day. I haven't even talked to my wife in the day. I'm like, hey honey, nice to see you, I'm going to bed. So that was a little bit, that's what I had to do to get, now I'm about 6:45. I just had to change when I went to bed. Because no matter when I go to bed, I wake up at the same time. I think that impact of sleep, probably along with alcohol, helped me with the weight loss, energy, and I think the clarity. You know, you can function, everybody who's in this room is a high performer. So you can just push through anything, right? But to do it and also feel clarity about it are two separate things. So it's been an intense 6 months for us at work, and it's been super clear. So just the ease of getting through those things, the color of my hair started coming back. You know, I went bald 2 years ago, came back all white, now it has color. So those are, I don't know if that has anything to do with any of this or not, but literally, if you just go look at my social media, I had white hair a few months ago, and hair color started coming back. So I think the biggest surprise for me was the association of sleep.
Full disclosure, I did get a hair implant. So that would have nothing to do with the neurofeedback.
To add to this, the reason why I do the dietary and lifestyle piece is when I was at the Amen clinics working with these big professional football players and having to rehab their brain, Dr. Amen's like, you are gonna teach a brain-directed weight loss group. I'm like, I'm a neuroscientist. What am I doing teaching football players how to lose weight? And he's like, we have to do it for their brain health. And so I taught it in the clinical setting for 7 years straight, every week, teaching people everything that they can do to just get to a healthy weight for their brain health. And we have published papers on this showing the more weight that's on your body, the lower the perfusion to the front part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. So it has a very measurable effect on brain function. That's the one thing when you work at a clinic where you literally scan everybody that walks through the door and see tens of thousands of brain scans. Bringing blood flow back to the brain is one of the most important things to do, which is why we also put each of them on a supplement protocol to help perfusion. So, you know, the neurofeedback's one piece, but I work on sort of multiple things.
Going to Arsha, I was curious about the neurofeedback sessions, only because that's probably something that most of us are super unfamiliar with. What was that experience like for you guys, and was it hard to just carve time out to do those sessions? You guys are so busy, and I've seen your calendars. Like, talk to me about the actual neurofeedback sessions.
Well, actually, it doesn't take very long. It's really 30 to 40 minutes, but it's about an hour and 10 minutes altogether. So it's not that hard to carve out an hour and 10 minutes. It was super convenient for us because she came to this office. But I would say that part was really easy.
Well, I walked into the neurofeedback process, like I said on the video, I had no idea what it was. I think one of Gabe's kids maybe had participated in some of this, so maybe you had a little bit. I never even Googled what it was like. So she puts those funny looking caps back on us, puts a computer screen in front of me, and there's sort of this abstract like art thing that's moving. She plays it, and there's some, call it yoga-esque sound, zenful sound, and this abstract art moving. She plays it for like 15, 20 seconds, and she goes, okay, you're gonna make that play again. And so it's not on, and she's like, when I say go, you're gonna make it play with your brain. And I was like, well, how am I gonna do that? She's like, you'll figure it out. I'm like, wait, what? And so, you know, she dims the lights, she got a little salt rock on there, there's some
That's
nice
his
smells.
salt rock, by the way.
Yeah.
He keeps wanting to like put that on.
And she turned my salt rock on. And I'm sitting there, and so I start psychoanalyzing the process. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is a brain thing. I need to have purity of thought. So then I'm trying to in my brain, I'm trying to clear the thoughts out of my head. Sometimes it would play, sometimes it wouldn't. And then I was like, well, that's not really working all that often. So then I started focusing on meditation. And I went through I do 3 different breathing techniques in a meditative cycle. And instead of thinking thoughts in my head or not thoughts, I started thinking about my lungs. And I started really trying to connect to my breath work. And sometimes it would play and sometimes it wouldn't. And so for the first 2 lessons, that's all it was. It was like me against myself trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And I just couldn't not get out of my own way and do that process. And what I love about her approach is it's like an integrated life coach with a neuroscientist. So she's as geeky and technical as she can be. She's also like this, giving a life coach kind of advice as well. She's like, just quit thinking about all that stuff. More so approach it, connect to your heart, and let things just happen. And so I was like, okay. So then I went more into that kind of space where I didn't fight what happened. I just let thoughts come or go or whatnot. And that's really where I started seeing the results, where it's playing it, and I forget if you call them tokens or whatever, but it's sort of this gamified system in there. And you're seeing results at the end of it that she's walking you through and telling you what parts of your brain and the regions were impacted with the work. And so when I just got the hell out of my way and cleared space, everything just started working. And I'll talk about it later, but it was magical from that point forward.
Yeah, I just want to add, it's a really cool experience because it's very calming. That's what I experienced. And it's like your brain is like playing a symphony. And it just keeps trying to learn how to do it better through the whole process, which, the first couple of times you come out a little bit tired. And then once you get the hang of it, then you actually come out super calm and relaxed, and you feel like you can take on anything.
Let's go to like where we're at today, the results. After this journey, you guys are both leaders at a very hyper-growth, fast-paced company. There's a lot going on. You've got a lot of clients. You're also, I know how much family means to both of you, trying to balance, work and life. As an executive, how has this journey and this process changed, like as a CEO of the company, how has that changed your decision-making, stress management, problem-solving? Just luckily, best talk about that.
Well, first of all, I didn't realize that I had an anxious brain when I started this process, but Dr. Willemeyer diagnosed me.
And Tammy affirmed.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like, I always knew my things, I had all these thoughts and things would race in my head all the time. And I was thinking of all these scenarios and just, that running of your brain. And I don't know if anyone else could relate to that. But sometimes that would happen before I fall asleep or I wake up in the middle of the night or under a stressful situation. I just know that my brain is just turning. And I think that, that's something that Dr. Willemeyer saw in the scans. The other questions that she's had for me was like, have you had any trauma recently, which I had, which also can create that anxious area of your brain. So I think that, I already forgot the question, but we're talking about, this is the memory piece, but no, I remember it. But the thing is this like handling stress has been significantly easier. I always felt like I had a calming personality and I could carry a lot, with a family of 4 kids and a very demanding wife.
She's giving you the eye.
That was a bad setup. No, and obviously all the work stress, which I always felt like, it was manageable, but it's always, it feels heavy on you. I think that it's changed for me is things don't feel so heavy. That I can, just take it in and experience it and not feel like my brain is racing. It's more clear on, just really understanding the full picture and then being able to, react in a really calming perspective. So both at home, when my teenager, shoots something at me, it doesn't have the same reaction that I used to.
Jenny?
For me, there's different space that I like yearn to go to get what I call like downloads. To where you do that really deep thinking and get purity of thought on, something important. And I cold tub in the mornings, meditate, working out sometimes, if you're in a good workout high, you really clear space, then you can get into the place where you're having those downloads. But you really have to physically, or I do, have to physically go make time and find those things to be able to disconnect from the chaos that's everything else in our lives. And I think what came out of the neurofeedback sessions, what I trained my brain to do, was to just do that. Not have to be in a cold tub, not have to meditate, not have to go on a run, or those other things that force clear out. Sort of like if anybody surfs. Surfing is so addictive because it's pure. You can't be out surfing and thinking about a bunch of other stuff. But unless you're doing one of those activities, it can be really difficult to just clear life out to allow that to happen. So I think when I got into the neurofeedback process and I quit trying to psychoanalyze it all, then I started getting my mind into the frame of mind of, I could just find that space anytime I want it on demand. And then I think it's more important than just being able to receive those powerful downloads, because she talks a lot about you need quiet space. That's why sleep's so important, because it is a quiet space. So if we don't have that, you're only sleeping 4 hours and your brain's running all that time, you don't have enough of that. So I don't know if that's what we were supposed to find in this thing or not. She's not really told us if we want or not, but that's what I felt like I got out of it, is that you have to interact with that machine in such a way that it teaches you how to be able to do those things on demand. And then what I'm hoping to take away now is I can create that quiet space whenever I want. I might not be somewhere with a cold tub that can force it out. So hopefully that's what I get to take away from life, and I know we'll continue to remain engaged with it and not just like 10 weeks and done kind of thing as well.
Dr. Blomeyer, I think we got a lot of leaders and executives in the room. Are there and you say every brain is different, but are there patterns you see amongst high performing executives and leaders where you see that there's sort of a pattern here and you can help with some of that?
I can help anybody's brain. That's number one. That is the beauty of this work. It is why I love it and why it's extraordinary. It's funny, having worked at Amen Clinics, we had the YPO group come in and have their high-level executives have their brain scanned, both doing the EEG like I did, SPECT scans, and everybody's like, well, of course I'm gonna have a beautiful brain, right? I run this multi-million-dollar company, and when you really look at people's brains, everybody's different, and truly, I learned at Eamon's, most people have work to do. It's just, we all do, right? Our brain is aging, we're exposing it to a lot of different things. We might be drinking, we might not have the healthiest diet, we might have excess weight on our body. So, there is no one pattern for a CEO brain, right? I think people who are CEOs are just driven and they can work with the pattern that they have. And so when you come to me, I'm here to help make your brain as efficient as possible. So you have the highest processing speed. So you are the calmest. So you are the less reactive. You don't get triggered by things. Both of them are calmer. He's already so calm. So truly, but then I can see somebody's brain, and if I see like a very active brain, but a very calm person, I know their mind's probably racing, and there's things that we could do to quiet that down, because that excess activity is taking away from your power, right? It's like, it's too much. So this process for me, for anybody who I'm working with, is like, I'm just here to help make it efficient. But to your question about a pattern, no one pattern for executives.
I'm gonna go back to Jamie's comment of this commitment to not just having it be one and done. I was gonna ask you about when you see these changes for the positive.
Yeah.
how do you get them to stay? And is it like, is the training you're doing lasting, or is there anything that people can do after they work with you?
The training lasts. That's the beautiful part about it. Usually if somebody comes to work with me, I'm like, if you're gonna invest in neurofeedback training, I just ask people to do 10 sessions. It's not worth it. If you're just gonna do one, you could try it. But I always say it's like going to the gym for your brain. So if you're gonna go, you wanna get great abs or build up your biceps, you're not gonna work with a great trainer once. You need to do a series of training so your brain holds so your body holds it against the muscle. In this case, I need your brain to hold a new pattern. And your brain is learning. I create parameters by which it's going to learn, and it then has to hold it. So that's why you do the series of 10. It will hold. And you can add the supplements in, depending on what you're dealing with. Usually I do supplements if I'm helping somebody with anxiety or focus, right? It's very much tailored towards just optimal brain function. But the patterns will hold and last. And it's one thing I learned at Amen Clinics, where you image people's brains and you put them on a supplement protocol or you use neurofeedback. I've seen so many post, scans. I know it works. And that's the beauty of this, right? If you invest in something like this, it will work. Neurofeedback does work, and your life, everybody gets better. And some people just need 10. I have people who come and see me just once a year and you get a refresh. It's whatever you need.
I'm also getting the hook that we have to finish up soon, but Jamie Gage, just ending reflections on, as you look back on this journey of the last couple months, just to share with the group of just.
Well, I would just say, if you're curious at all, just engage with her, or come talk to Gabe or I, or somebody at C3 if you're here with somebody else, and test it out. Like, at least it starts with a medical background or background question. Then you're gonna do that 45. She'll send you a link. You just fill up. You're gonna do a cognitive test. That's math, memory, etc. online. Super easy to do, non-invasive, not a huge time commitment. And then you're gonna meet with her once. She's gonna do, was it 10 minutes or 20 minutes where we would just stare off into space for the neural mapping. You looked at a tree.
When I do the initial
mapping,
and I put the cap. I put the cap on the head. I measure your brain for 10 minutes with eyes open, 10 minutes eyes closed. You don't have to.
So that's it. It's 20 minutes total, 10 minutes eyes open, 10 minutes eyes closed, and then this machine's just measuring. And that's all you do to get a baseline. It's like not very invasive. Out of that, she spent 90 minutes with us telling us all about our brain in every single neural network, where she's saying, this is what your mood, your PTSD, your executive function, your memory, all of these things, and how they're interwoven and how one could impact the other within your own brain. And it's like the most fascinating thing. That's what she's gonna go through next about Gabe. So if you're curious, take the leap of faith, do it. And I think you'll really, really enjoy the process of getting to know yourself better.
I mean, I was surprised on how messed up I was.
Tammy, not so much.
Yeah, Tammy knew that I had problems. I think, the whole concept of hooking a computer to your brain seems like, like next age, but it's not anything scary. I would say that's what I was surprised about it, is like, doesn't hurt, you don't feel like you're getting shocked, or, people ask me all these questions like, is your brain being like, or what could it do to your brain? Like, never felt anything from a scary perspective. I think that I was really surprised that it had such a big effect. I didn't expect it to have such a changing experience in just 10 sessions. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway for me. It was just to really feel the difference after this experience.
Mia, do we have time for any?
It's in your show, guys. Your
Couple
show.
of-
Okay.
It's ours.
I was going to ask you if anyone in the audience has any questions for this.
Yeah, questions for sure.
Sounds like a great experience. So it seems like some of the things that helped in the process are better sleep, losing weight, and no alcohol. what are the other things that you did in order to improve? It sounded like there was also some supplements involved that were helpful. And so that's my first question. And then the second one is the process the same for everyone in terms of really focusing on those three things plus supplements, or are there other things that you're doing that are different for one person versus the next?
For me, so the process is the same when I'm working with everyone, right? So you do the cognitive assessment, the mental health assessment, and then I sort of take a deep dive into your life and figure out what are things that you're doing that are brain healthy, what are the things that you're doing that aren't brain healthy. Then we do the QEEG assessment. And the neurofeedback piece is if you want it. Like, you do not need to do the neurofeedback piece. That is just a piece to take your brain to the next level. And because you can train symptoms, you can train dysregulated brain networks. There's so many different things that I can do with this technology, which is extraordinary. It's why I love it. I mean, I'm just scratching the surface of what the potential is for this technology. But the process is the same in that, you know, the whole goal is, what are your goals? Like, these were his goals. So I'm like, what are your goals? And sitting from me, like, what do you want? And then I try to do my best to do everything to help you attain that, if that makes sense. And the supplements, they're tailored towards how your brain is wired. I actually have you do a brain system checklist that we use at Aiming Clinics for people who couldn't get scanned. So I was, besides the director of research, I was the director of nutrition and nutraceuticals. And I helped test the efficacy of great supplements using brain imaging. That's why I know what works and what doesn't. And we use this neurofeedback technology. I could show people if a supplement actually changed their brain or not. So we were always doing pilot studies with it. So that's where I can actually make recommendations, number one, based on your EEG, or I can make a supplement recommendation based on how you answered the checklist. So there's so many wonderful layers to this process. You don't have to do supplements, by the way, but there are certain things that can really be helpful. So yeah, it's diet, lifestyle, supplements, imaging.
Yeah, and I just want to add to the supplement thing is, like, at first I was a little bit dubious. I'm like, how does, like, taking vitamins gonna help my brain? And so, but when Dr. Willemeyer talked about the studies that she did and how she just by people taking supplements, how it had a positive effect on their brain, I said, okay, I'm gonna go try this thing. And it's not like she's making any money on it. I'd ordered on, she just said, be aware to order it online. No referral on her side or anything like that. So I knew it was real, because I'm always like skeptical of supplements. But I'm taking that, you know, twice a day, once in the morning, once at night, and I think it's
That's why you won. I only take it once a day.
I didn't tell Jamie. Plus, I'm already signed up for phase 2 of this thing, so.
I was gonna say, by the way, I used to be skeptical of supplements. I was. Before I worked in psychiatry and actually tested it and saw it using neuroimaging, I was exactly like these guys. Now that I see how effective they can be, and the ones that they are on, we've published research on it showing using SPECT imaging, this particular suite of nutrients improves blood flow to the brain, and it's sustainable. And so I do evidence-based work. Everything is evidence-based. I'm not going to just have you buy a bunch of things randomly. It's very targeted to what you need.
One other thing, just to address Will, we like doubled down on it because of the weight loss side of it. Like, we didn't just like hook a machine up and lose weight. It's because we are making a commitment. We already were quitting alcohol. He committed to run a 100-mile race in Baja in December. 100 kilometer.
That's impressive.
That's really different. That's the Mexican side of it. So he did that. I hired this fitness coach guy out of Miami, and you know, he's got me on MyFitnessPal, and you know, scanning and entering all my food and sending me workouts, and then you know, holding me accountable to lead the lifestyle side of it. So it's a combination of all of that, but we're already making a commitment. She's like, if you really want to max your brain, get rid of alcohol. I'm like, well, if I'm gonna get rid of alcohol, I might as well get rid of, you know, my love handles too. So we just went all in.
I have a quick question. What is it about alcohol that causes so much damage to the brain activity, and then how many weeks or months does it take for it can it be fully healed, or does it give 90%? So,
Yeah, alcohol is toxic to the brain and it will actually shrink brain volume over time. So coming from a psychiatric setting, the recommendation that we had is if your brain is healthy, you don't have any psychiatric issues that we're dealing with, 1 to 2 glasses a week of something is okay. But if you have any kind of issue going on, we do not recommend it for your brain health because it's not doing anything positive for you. Typically, it's calming your brain, but it'll put weight on your body. When I was teaching the brain-directed weight loss groups, if you just cut alcohol out alone, you can lose 20 pounds in a year. There's certain things that just put weight on your body that aren't really great for you, but we do it because it's social and we enjoy it. But when I work with people, I think about the long-term effects on their brain health. And if you look at any of the brain imaging studies, the long-term ways that if you're drinking alcohol each week over time, it shrinks brain volume. And combined with, as we hit the age of 40, our brain volume shrinks about 5% each decade. So it's more just making a choice and going, okay, I don't really need this anymore. I want to have the healthiest brain possible. And probably because I work with so many people who really struggle with challenging issues in their life, if you're actually healthy, I get so excited. Just being blessed that you're waking up pain-free, you have energy, you're feeling good, like remember that and like hold on to that. So, I mean, I think I just try to inspire people to maybe say, hey, you know, I don't need to do this as much. Like Jamie said, you know what, I'm going all in. What I love about these guys, because they're so competitive, they're like, we're doing everything. And in 5 months, it showed because each one of you lost 20 pounds. The 3 of them.
25.
Oh, 20. I mean, they didn't look like, if you looked at them, you wouldn't think they need to. But if you're like, okay, we're gonna do this by body mass index, like, yeah, you actually should be leaner.
She said I was obese.
You were overweight. not obese. All my football players were, yeah. I could teach those guys lose weight. Yes.
Jamie?
Oh, so you said 10 weeks. So minimum. How many times per week?
Good question.
And also, can you speak to, because I know when we took our daughter was a different neurofeedback, so like they're not all equivalent?
Right.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, 2 good questions. So with neurofeedback, you want to try to commit to 1 to 2 sessions a week. It's just the consistency over time, because on retraining your brain to hold new patterns, right? New ways of thinking. Traditional neurofeedback will use maybe 2, 3, or 4 electrodes placed on the scalp, and it can work more the surface area of the brain. So all neurofeedback works. That's why I love it. And those sessions tend to be at least 20 sessions or more to get effects. So you might have to do 20 to 40. This particular neurofeedback, every time I work with you, I put the cap on your head. So I'm using 19 leads. I get the whole head, and I'm working networks deep in the brain. So as you know, like I can work your hippocampus, which is the area of the brain involved in learning and memory. I can help calm down the amygdala. That's an area of the brain that's sort of the fight or flight response. So if you have a lot of anxiety, I can do neurofeedback to calm those brain regions down. And in this form of neurofeedback, as I was saying, I can work anywhere from 100 to 1,000 metrics per session. And that's where I can get into more of the details. When I work with people, I actually teach you what I'm doing, because it's kind of nice to actually go through the process and learn how your brain is changing. But that's sort of an overview. So the reason why I say 10, you get a lot done with 10. Whereas you might need to go and do 20, 40, or 60 of the other kind of neurofeedback. Still very effective, just might take longer.
Does body fat itself have a negative effect on the brain, or does it affect blood flow to the brain?
Both. Yeah, so excess fat on the body is inflammatory. So releases inflammatory cytokines through the circulatory system, so you get neuroinflammation. And with our brain imaging studies, we've shown that being overweight or obese starts to impact blood flow in the prefrontal cortex. So it does both. So you actually, the reason to lose weight is just to reduce the inflammation, the systemic inflammation. So it's a very good question. Yeah. Yes,
In
sir.
layman's terms, when you're doing the neutral feedback,
The neurofeedback.
what we're talking about,
Uh-huh.
can you explain to us physically what you're trying to do in some terms?
Of course. So neurofeedback it's a brain-computer interface technology. So I'm putting a cap on your head and measuring your brainwave activity, and I've got it connected to a computer. And because I'm comparing your brain to this healthy brain database, in real time, a mathematical transformation, it's called a fast Fourier transform, is happening. And I set parameters. So say I'm working say you have anxiety, right? So everybody's CEO probably deals with stress, right? High stress level. I may say, okay, we're gonna work on your anxiety network, which is composed of many regions of the brain, and I'm gonna set parameters to train it at, and what your brain is working within those parameters, you will get audio or visual feedback. So you could be watching something on a screen, like Jamie was talking about, and you get a sound in your ear. And I usually try to tailor those training and those sounds to who you are and what I think is going to be effective. Like a child, they want to do a race car going around a track. Somebody who's a little more spiritual or Zen might want to I do something called sound bath in the forest, where it's like your training is like being in a forest and it's very peaceful. I actually trained Matt to that, who's not here, and so we heard the birds chirping, and he's like, oh, this reminds me of being on the golf course, and he loved it because the sounds were comforting and soothing to him. Your brain is learning by operant conditioning, so I'm not doing anything, I'm not putting any stimulation into your brain. Your brain is learning when it's holding the signal where we want it, it gets the feedback. And so it's learning, and the reason why you do the 10 sessions is you're wanting to then hold that pattern, like your brain learns it and owns it. Does that help explain it a little bit? No.
Barely.
Clear as mud.
So
It's
let's
a-
say,
He said layman terms.
I thought that was late.
let's say with me, you're gonna work with my memory, so
Okay,
tell
we
me,
could work with your memory network, so I will put
so
it.
you're gonna teach my brain what? I'm still not.
Your brain, so we will work with the memory centers of your brain. I may end up training your hippocampus or maybe your prefrontal cortex, so areas of the brain that are important in memory. What we're gonna do is look at how your brain is functioning compared to somebody your age and gender in a healthy brain database. And I will set a parameter to see when your brain is working in accordance with the healthy brain database, you will get a video signal or a sound. So you're gonna get a reward, and the brain loves rewards. It actually always is looking for rewards. I liken it to if you're training your dog to go outside, go to the bathroom outside, not in the house. So we have a dog having to go through this training. When she goes outside, she gets the treat, right? Then she learns treat, I go outside, go to the bathroom, I get my treat. This is the same thing. Your brain is going to get a reward when it is functioning within the parameters I set for the memory network. And I look to see if your memory network is more than 2 standard deviations from the norm. So this is more of the technical stuff that I'll sort of teach you. If you want to do this with me, I'll actually explain to you what we're doing.
So you're saying like the norm with a high functioning brain is here, and you're
Yeah.
teaching it to get to
And we're trying to get it to as close to the high functioning, like healthy brain database. So I'm trying to see where your memory network is and can I sort of get it closer to the healthier patterns. And we train what's called power and coherence and phase, so the connections between different brain regions. I mean, it's actually very sophisticated and technical. But we're essentially just training your brain to hold healthier patterns of functioning, and it will be rewarded when it does that. And you can adjust the level of training. So if you're really good and get a lot of rewards, I make it harder.
But Bob, you're basically gonna do the same thing you did because he's done the mapping.
You've done-
So you're gonna do the same thing you did in the mapping. You're gonna sit there and you're gonna meditate, basically. But you're gonna be in this gamified thing that is she's watching measure your brain. And if the way your brain is, say, meditating is in accordance with the protocol she set, you're gonna get rewarded with hearing that sound. And it's gonna teach your brain how to focus on the thing that you choose setting an intention around. But basically, each time you get together with her, for 30 minutes, you're gonna sit and meditate. You're just gonna be hooked up to this machine that's evaluating your brain as you do it.
I know it's a strange concept to wrap your mind around, but when you start to do it, because I've worked with you as well, do you guys, you started to get it?
Yeah,
I know it's an unusual concept, which is why I actually did a PowerPoint to kind of explaining it.
Yeah, it's really weird to think that your brain could creatively turn the music on without doing anything.
Okay, your brain has 86 billion neurons. Each neuron makes between 1,000 to 10,000 connections. So you've got tens of thousands of connections going. And then you come to me and say, I've got anxiety. I'm like, okay, we're gonna work your anxiety type work. Is it 2, 3, 4 standard deviations from the norm of this healthy brain database? Then I'm gonna go, let's bring it closer to healthy. So I set some parameters and his brain is function it's literally just giving him the feedback when the firing patterns are there, and it likes to learn, so it'll reinforce it. We'll get more rewards and get better and better. And I'm like, okay, I can make it harder, which is why next sessions you come in and we make it harder. And then that's why each session I make it a little harder, and you'll see with the results, it changes your brain holds it. And that's where you can improve processing speed and memory. I mean, there's a lot you can do with this. It takes time, but the learning process is operant conditioning.
I think we'll go into the actual results.
I'll make this quick. Do people want to see the results? Or do you? Yeah?
I think it'll
If we
help
have
people
time,
understand
we'll
it.
still do some more Q&A at the end.
We'll do results, then come back to Q&A, because I think it'll help you connect the experience.
Yeah, I'll do. So what did you want to give me? I'll just sit here and
Yeah.
I'll make this.
Gabe wants to be in the front so he can show off his brains.
This is Gabe. This is
See how messed up it is?
our wonderful, our wonderful supplement. So when Gabe saw me, these were the things he wanted to do, right? Everybody wanted to improve their brain health, but he was very specific. He's like, I want a calmer mind. I think faster than I can express myself. So right there, that almost says like a little bit of an anxious mind, right? But I haven't seen his EEG yet. And he also wanted increased processing speed around language, reading, and speech to become more fluent in speaking a second language, right? You want to speak Spanish. You speak Spanish, but you want to, okay. Those were his goals.
Work to do.
He's got work to do. Oh, we have this in here. So very quickly, we do the brain-computer interface training with him. So remember in the beginning, he was like, I had some trauma, and we won't talk about it. But if somebody's had some trauma, I might want to address that first before I'm taking your brain to the next level with that peak performance piece. So his first 5 sessions, I worked on his mood network and default mode network. I won't get into the details, but we wanted to just sort of get that to a better place. Then the second 5, I worked his executive network and memory network. This is what like peak performers would probably want, like these things. And with him, every time we trained for 30 minutes, I had between 793 and 800 made metrics in a half an hour period. That's a lot of things we're training. So brainwave frequencies, I'll do this very quickly. Whenever I do your brain maps, like I walk people through this, but your brain holds all of these different frequencies. So our brain is in the delta brainwave frequency when we're deep sleep. It's in the theta frequency when you're in sort of a light sleep, deep relaxation. Alpha is relaxed but wakeful. Beta and high beta are when we're working. And then gamma is really high level cognitive function and problem solving.
I never got there, by the way.
Yeah. Your brain is in all of those states all of the time, but when you're sleeping, you're more in delta. So for example, I was telling the delta here, your slow sleepy waves. If I do your EEG and I see a lot of high delta, I know you probably have brain fog, or you might have dementia, or you might have, so there's like a balance of these waves in the brain. If I look at your EEG and you've got too many of these beta waves, the fast ones, you might be anxious, right? If your alpha waves are a little too low, you might be anxious. So theta is associated with ADD. If we see a lot of these sort of slower, sleepy waves, that goes with ADP. So you can kind of, and again, this is a lot to sort of take in, but when I show you your brain maps, I'm gonna show you these maps. So this is Gabe's brain, and we're just gonna look at the top here. So I look at absolute power and relative power. Absolute power is your brain compared to the healthy brain database. So just sort of look at the top. White is where we want it. So white is healthy. Green is still healthy. It's about 1.5 to 1 standard deviations from the norm. When I'm looking for people who have issues, if I see orange or red or really deep blue, I know you're kind of far from the norm, and that tends to correlate with clinical issues. So I look at these maps and I go, okay, with Gabe, he's got a little high beta here on the surface, so that's the nose, the ears. This is a topographical map in 2D. So we're looking at the surface. I'm like, oh, the high beta is a little high. He might be anxious. And this alpha here is also a little high. That can go with not always feeling focused, right? So you could, but they're still within a healthy range. Okay. So here's his brain when we do neurofeedback. So this is real time. I'm imaging his brain. I'm looking at it. And do you see here's alpha, beta, and high beta. Do you see it's white? So when he's doing the neurofeedback training, this is what I'm looking at real time. His brain is holding a healthy pattern. And this is what I can see in real time. And if it's not, well, then I can, make changes to the program. So this shows when he does the training, his brain is in a healthy state. So here was his results after 10 sessions of neurofeedback. Again, so that was the before. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Can you guys clap for me or something? I'm less messed up.
So do you see that alpha and the high beta is quieter, right? So you see more of the white, right? White is good. These are the individual brain maps, so I can look at each frequency. So 1 hertz, 2 hertz, 3 hertz up at the top, that's all delta. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all alpha. 9, so, and I don't need to go through all the details, but you can just see the bars, right? That was before, here's after, is white, but it gets even better. These were the beta brainwaves. So you see when I look at the individual frequencies, I can find out exactly where they are and target his training. So all of this red here are the anxious brainwaves, and you see after 10 sessions, you see it's still there, but we've significantly reduced it. And this is how he'll hold it now. So that's actually a calmer brain. When it gets better, it gets better. So this is where, to your question, traditional neurofeedback versus this full cap neurofeedback. So I can now go deeper in the brain and go, what I'm seeing on the surface, where's it coming from in the brain? And so for Gabe, we see right here in the prefrontal cortex, Brodmann area 32, it's involved in emotional regulation, cognitive control, empathy, self-awareness, decision-making, very important for CEO. So when we started, this high activity here, so 8 hertz was the alpha. So that elevated activity we saw in alpha came from here. And we can train that. So after 10 sessions, we can give him a round of applause. He did that all by himself.
I'm getting rewarded.
Ready to October. So this is what I look at, and I can see how many standard deviations from the norm. So that was 2.4, so that is red. Now we're 1 standard deviation from the norm. Healthy, very, very healthy, and this makes me very happy. This is sort of higher level things. So I told you I worked his default mode network. The kind of technology I have lets you make really cool brain maps. So you can see the areas of connectivity. So blue is low connectivity. The yellow is a little elevated connectivity, and you want it to be white. So that's before, that's after. You see we've done a lot better with the connections in his brain. So that improves processing speed. And this just tells me actually the actual Brodmann region. So I can go very deep with the analysis. We'll just skip this. The other area of the brain that was overactive, so that high beta, the anxiety center, came from here. This was Brodmann area 31, so it's at 23 hertz. That's involved in memory, navigation, attention, self-referential thought. So the parietal lobe.
Navigation, my wife thinks that I can't navigate.
Okay, well, you have no excuse now. V has retrained this region of your brain as well. And you'll see after 10 sessions, that's now in the healthy range as well. So that's a spectacular result for 10 sessions. That's why I love this technology. It just goes deeper in the brain, calms those down, and that's why he had the better brain maps. I won't get too detailed in this, but I love this stuff. These are the different networks that I can work. You can see there's 10 of them there. What I do initially is I'll look at your brain networks. These are radar plots, and they'll tell me how many standard deviations you are from the norm. And these were the different networks that he could have optimized, right? Because he came to me for peak performance. These were functioning actually very well. If most people look at that, they go, this is pretty healthy, but we can take it to the next level. I'm gonna actually show you. So in 10 weeks, all of his brain networks became optimized, and I'm actually gonna show you a close-up. So these plots, let's just take this attention network. So I use these. So one standard deviation from the norm is where I try to get people. You see his attention network was 2 standard deviations from the norm. So that can correlate with clinical issues, right? Anxiety. So here he is before, here he is after. So do you see the attention network? Everything is nice and tight around 1. This red is the left side of the brain, green is the right side. It just tells me which hemisphere it's in. But the key point is everything is nice and tight around 1. Even his anxiety network here, it's 2 standard deviations from the norm. After the neurofeedback, everything is nice and tight around 1 standard deviation from the norm, which is healthy. So the fact that we did 10 sessions of neurofeedback and all of those networks basically are nice and close to around that 1.0. I couldn't ask for a better result for him. Same thing with his frontal lobes. So that's the front part of the brain. If you're the CEO, you want that to be working really well. That's up here, that's 2 standard deviations from the norm. And his parietal lobes back here, same thing. After 10 sessions, you'll look and see everything's nice and tight around 1, almost 1.0. So we made some really significant changes in your brain. The other thing we do, so here's his brain compared to the peak performance database, the high IQ database. So in May, you get a score from 0 to 10. So in May, his brain optimization index was at 6.57. In October, he got up to 6.05. This is actually very challenging. You know, most people, I very rarely see people that get at this super high range, because again, you're comparing yourself to this high IQ database. And I can go in and show you exactly which networks got better. So for Gabe, his reward, mood, and pain networks improved compared to this high peak performance database. And then at the end, I also look for something called your peak alpha frequency. If you have this nice band here, at 10 hertz, that tells me you're cognitively efficient. Some of them does. A beautiful brain. And then I'm just doing the wrap up now, right, Mia? Because I've got like 3 more slides. So in addition to doing the neurofeedback, and you guys can ask me questions. I know that was a lot, and I'd like to get into the science of it. These were some of the other things, again, that we did with the guys: weight management, top them with the Mediterranean diet. They were put on a nutrient protocol, aerobic exercise, and cognitive training. All 10 of these things are things that you would do in the clinical setting if you really want to optimize brain health. And I will close very quickly. So because we're talking about peak performers, this is my 88-year-old father-in-law. That's my father-in-law and my husband and our 2 rescue dogs. So my father-in-law was a mechanical engineer developer. So he built hotels for Caesar. So he's built hotels all around the world. And he loves taking care of his brain health. So his wife's mom ended up having Alzheimer's, and she lived with them, and he took care of her. And he saw what Alzheimer's did to her and how horrendous it was. So he's like, I'm gonna do everything I can to take care of my brain. So he's like, I want to prevent Alzheimer's, I want better brain health, I want a sharper mind, I want improved recall, and I want better balance. So pretty much everybody who's 80 or over, I end up working on balance. And neurofeedback, we can actually work the balance centers of your brain. We can work the cerebellum and some of those deeper brain networks. So he's out in Stuart, Florida. This was him in Vegas this year. Like, we had to go celebrate his birthday. So these are the things that he's done. Just talking about brain healthy lifestyle, things that you can do if we're not doing neurofeedback. He picked up croquet, he does Wordle. He was an architect, so we sent him the Lego architect set of the Notre Dame Cathedral. He had it done in 2 weeks. It's like a 450-piece puzzle. He does the puzzles, balance class. So all of these things he's doing, he told me, he's like, my job now is brain health. Like, that is what my life is about. It's what I do. And maybe the next time I give this talk, I'll shoot his brain.
Oh, does he?
He's 88. Yeah, he'll be 89 in April. He's amazing. So if you guys want to learn more just about taking care of your brain health, I have a book called Biohack Your Brain. It's in many languages, but I wrote it basically to help people. Like, here are the things that you can do to take care of your brain health. And for everybody that's here today, and if you want to connect with me, by the way, please feel free to reach out. Let's see, and this is just about my father. That's why I started the foundation. For those of you, who want to purchase my book, for everybody who's here today, I'd be happy to do just a brain health assessment on you. 20% off just for the consult, but everybody who gets the book, I will send you the cognitive assessment, the 40-minute cognitive assessment. You can take it. I'll send you the results. Like, no charge, just I'll do that for you. But if you actually want, I get on phone and I walk you through your results on 20%. I'll keep that. And any other questions?
I know we rushed through it to make sure we could see the amazing results, but does anyone have any questions? Yeah, Brian.
We talked about the baseline and the healthy brain, group you're
Yeah.
comparing it to. What sets the parameters for those brains that fit into the healthy one compared to?
That Healthy Brain Database was started back in the 80s by Dr. Thatcher. So it's FDA registered. It's got over, I believe it's close to 800 brains now. They do not have any neuropsychological issues. So they've gone through extensive testing, and pretty much every year the FDA comes in and audits it. So this is about as high functioning as you get. It's a very good question. And when people talk about normative databases, this is one of the best.
And then one more thing.
Yeah.
Just fun. That's my beard ball.
Is that beer?
The last beer for you to have something you're targeting like Gabe did of I want these 3 things, or is that help the process, or is it just coming in blank slate? You tell me what I need to target.
Well, what I love, this is the fun part about what I do, is you come tell me what you're looking for. I look at all of the assessments. So the cognitive assessment will tell me the specific regions, like I might want to do working memory with you, or I might see you have focus and attention issues, and that'll just be very clear in the cognitive assessment. I'll go, okay, we should probably work these. But the first thing I do is try to determine, are we working symptoms? Like, are there symptoms? Do you have headaches? Did you have PTSD? So we can work symptoms. We can work networks, because I'll show you that brain networks, and we'll talk about it and go, here's what I'm seeing here. Is this what you're experiencing? I mean, one thing I learned about working in psychiatry, the whole goal was improving people's quality of life. At the end of the day, it's not always about the brain map. The map helps me to target and tailor your treatment. How you're feeling is really the end result.
Yes. So you talked about how the brain logs rewards.
Yes.
And about healthy patterns and habits. So social media is all basically taking advantage of that to spread
Correct.
you. So can you speak to the damage done by the doom scrolling and
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, so on?
That's such a great question about social media. It's the constant dopamine hit. So you're literally sort of rewiring the frontal part of your brain and it's sort of overstimulating it. And the healthiest thing you could do for your brain, and I think it's one of the best things about neurofeedback, is it's all about calming the brain. And so, you know, I typically recommend people not do social media or to really sort of limit their, you know, time spent on that. And especially if you're a high net worth, you know, individual and you're busy, don't you find that that actually distracts you? Yeah. So you want to have like parameters around it. I think that's really important for kids, by the way. But yeah, it's just overstimulating the dopamine, the reward centers, and you want more. It becomes addictive. Thankfully, I can work the Egyptian network. We can unwind that. Yeah.
So you mentioned that they did 10 sessions.
Yeah.
Are they gonna last like a lifetime, or do you have to redo it every 10 years, or?
Well, so everybody's different based on what happens in their life, but at least 10 they can hold the pattern, right? Because I do the follow-up EEG. Usually after 10, I'll do another EEG and I'll go, how are we doing? If it looks clean and looks good like his, he's good. Some people, because of what's going on in your brain, I need to do more, right? I may not have been able to move the needle as far. Like say you've had trauma or PTSD and those networks are really locked in, so maybe we need to do more. So it's different for each person, but 10 will definitely get you somewhere.
I think she's asking what hold for years.
I mean, so I'll tell you, having worked at the Aiming clinics, and that's what we do, like, okay, giving you this intervention, can it hold in your brain? So neurofeedback can work and hold in your brain, and the patterns are so unique, it's like a fingerprint. Like, I'll see somebody a year later and it'll be the exact same pattern. So the short answer to your question is yes, but if other things happen and traumas happen, you have a pandemic, I mean, you've lost a loved one, like something may get kicked up, but yeah, it should hold. Yeah.
I saw your earlier slides that you mentioned one of the reasons is chronic pain.
Yes.
Are you like you're working with people with chronic physical pain? And
Yeah.
I guess.
Because you can work the pain network. So so when it comes to pain, I mean, everybody's different. You can never make promises, right? You can say, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna work the pain network in your brain, which is at several areas, and see if we can't help calm your brain down. Because it's also about how you're perceiving pain. So I might do the anxiety network and the pain network for that, and then see how you do and feel. But yeah, and it's pretty cool when pain. Yeah.
So if someone's getting signs of dementia,
Yes.
can you reverse that with this kind of therapy, or
It's
in the too late at that time?
Totally. You know, the thing I learned at Aiming Clinics, we always say, we can always change the brain. There's always things we can do. And I'm working with people with Parkinson's and mild cognitive impairments. I have football players who are 80 that have dementia. And you can still, what this will do is strengthen networks that might be compensatory networks in the brain that'll still help to try and reinforce new neural connections. So we can't necessarily reverse that dementia process, but we can help in the, what do I call the rewiring of the brain, so it can still function better. So, yeah, of course, this is a big question. Yeah, yes.
You talked about working with people with different types of anxiety.
Yeah.
Let's go in, dig in a little deeper. Have you ever worked with someone with specifically obsessive compulsive disorder?
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh.
what have you seen where you can solve about?
So OCD tends to be overactivity, the anterior cingulate gyrus in the sort of front part of the brain, kind of like where we were showing in your scan, like in the very front. So there's supplements that you can use to calm that down. And then we can also use the targeted neurofeedback to help try and calm those brain networks and teach them how to connect. It just be quiet. It's like quieting the brain down. Truly. That's what I sort of think of this as, is teaching the brain to be quieter, and then it'll be more efficient. Or in the case of dementia, I may need to have to stimulate. Good question. Any others? These are really good questions, yeah.
So where are the sessions conducted at?
So I'm in Tarzana, Woodland Hills, like LA area. I've been coming here to San Diego and working with these guys. So if you live here, I will probably be coming back down and working with people here as well. I mean, I can take my equipment anywhere, which is great, but I live in Los Angeles, so it's easiest if LA. So I have people fly in, and if your brain is functioning well and we just want to do 10 sessions, I can work with somebody in a 2-week period of time. So people just fly in for Bjork, stay for 2 weeks. I'll do you 5 days, 1 week, 5 days the next, and you could go. But everybody's different. And it's also what you need, because sometimes you want to do this on a slower time scale if I'm working with somebody that has some major issues, because you want the brain to also take time to integrate the training. Any other questions? Any other? Go.
Well, I guess I could address that question about, we're kind of playing with the idea that if there's enough interest from people here in San Diego, that Dr. Willemeyer did think about, hey, maybe she would come down over some type of period. So it is an idea that we're just kind of thinking about. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, no, like it worked. Trust me, when we were starting this, they were actually going to just come up, every week. We tried to figure something out in Newport Beach, and then it just worked out. I would come here every week for 2 days or 3 days, and they get 2 or 3 sessions. So in 5 weeks, they were done. And that was sort of a nice cadence. So it was a way to get it done, and then you see the result, and the results speak for themselves, though.
Is there, have you noticed by doing a longer cadence versus a shorter cadence that there's a difference in resilience or a difference in adaptation? And
Oh yeah, it's so interesting. Everybody's brain responds differently. I know Matt, who is also, he isn't here today, but it was so interesting when he does his sessions, the rewards, he was so good at getting rewards. I mean, really quickly, his brain learns so fast. So it's interesting, everybody's brain learns differently and picks it up quickly. But at the end of the day, when you're done, you will have a more efficient brain.
what about with children? Like what's the youngest age that you work with?
I would say 6. Like usually with kids too, and this is where I might do more of the traditional neurofeedback. If they don't want to have the whole cap on the head, you can also do, the individual things. So kids are a little different because you've got to keep them engaged in the process. Yeah.
So Gabe mentioned phase 2.
Yeah.
Should we expect Gabe's brain to stay the same as it is now?
No, his brain will get better. It's great. We've already done a few more sessions, so he's done 2 or 3 more, and it's getting better. So I can see what happens in real time, and then do the EEG.
But what if we stop at 10? And what happens if you just stop at 10 and anything else?
He'll hold that pattern. Like he will have. He clearly has a less anxious brain now.
Well, ask Tammy.
Ask Tammy. That's his wife.
For sure.
Have you noticed?
I have noticed he doesn't wake up in the middle of the night. And I was just sharing.
Oh, that's interesting. He doesn't wake up in the middle of the night. That's why he had the racing mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just sharing that even as I hear you speak out there, you're speaking much more theory.
So I sort of raced through this, but I worked the frontal lobes and the parietal lobes have Brodmann and Wernicke area. Those are both involved in language processing. So that's actually what he wanted to work on improving. And
Yeah, actually, I think it was Mia over there that said, I did an interview yesterday, and I did it in 1 take. And she said I didn't use too many times, right?
Yeah, barely. And in 3 years' time, I'm not here with that, but he has to say things 4 or 5 times to get out the clear thought on video. And yesterday, it was just vividly clear that he is seeing, he is saying, he's communicating extremely well.
Yeah, this is coming from someone that couldn't read at age 8, so definitely I had processing issues, and I've learned a lot of ways to, cope with them, strategies to cope with them, but now I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to anymore.
I mean, So if you work with me, because I like to teach you what I'm doing to your brain, like I'm working with him now and I know exactly which regions which broadband areas in his brain that are dysregulated. And I was showing them to you. So I can see where it is in the brain and what we need to do to help, bring it closer to the healthy brain database. And that's at the end of the day, I'm just fascinated by this technology. I'm truly fascinated. And, I started this foundation because I wanted to help people, like people with Parkinson's who have balance and movement issues or REM sleep disorder. We just have this great technology that helps you to rewire your brain and to hold it and just to see what's the potential. Like, what is the potential of this? I don't even know. I mean, each person is different. I've seen what I've seen at the Amen Clinic, so I know what is possible in terms of brain rehab. But this particular technology and the way you can use it to really tailor something to your brain or to your brain, it's really phenomenal. I do think this is clearly state-of-the-art stuff.
Yeah, let's do this because I have a feeling some people may want to just have private conversations with you and not ask questions in front of the masses. Because our brains can be a personal thing, even though we've put them on display, especially Gabe. So let's do this. There's two offers here. If you're a client at C3, talk to Gabe or I, or whoever your relationship is at C3, and we'll talk to you about accessing Dr. Willmeyer. If you're not, if you're a friend of somebody else that's here, you can scan the QR code. If you buy her book, let us know, let Mia know in the back, because you'll get a discount through working through C3 for her services to be able to go through that initial part of the cognitive test and the neuromapping, which is in and of itself is fascinating if you don't do any other neurofeedback. And then with that, let's give Dr. Willmeyer a big round of applause. Thank you so much.